faster approval and lower prices for prescription drugs. That's a campaign promise that the president now says will become a reality.
We're also working very hard in getting the cost of medicine down. And I think people are going to see for the first time ever in this country a major drop in the cost of prescription drugs, right? I think we're going to have some of the big drug companies in 2 weeks, and they're going to announce, because of what we did, they're going to announce voluntary, massive drops in prices.
The Department of Health and Human Services has not yet issued any specifics, but the agency promises bold action. Joining us right now, Premier, President, and CEO Susan DeVore. Susan, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
It's a big issue here. We've been talking about the high price of medicine for a long time. What are you expecting? Do you see an impact?
You know, we think that President Trump's blueprint is on the right track. We've got to speed up FDA approval. We've got to get more competition in this marketplace. We've got to get more transparency in the marketplace. And so we think it's on the right track.
The FDA just announced a potentially game-changing rule that they will now publicly call out companies that are blocking generic competition, which, of course, that competition typically sends prices lower. What's your take on that?
Premier's take on that is transparency is good, and our take on that is some of those activities that delay competition getting to the market actually cause prices to be higher than they should be. So if you can get two competitors to the market, prices go down 52%. So we do think some of those activities that Commissioner Gottlieb is initiating will have the effect of bringing more competition to the marketplace.
Susan, it's Kevin Kelly here. I think you're bringing up some great points on bringing competition to the marketplace, especially when it comes to drug pricing. But we can't forget the pharmacy benefit managers and how they play into this critical ecosystem and infrastructure. Will they be able to come around and actually help support the president's policies in actually reducing drug pricing?
You know, I do think there's discussion with PBMs around, passing the rebates back to consumers. I think what we have to be careful of is not to rob Peter to pay Paul. So if those rebates go back to consumers, but then consumers have to end up paying higher premiums, it doesn't work. And so with all of this, every initiative you take, you have to make sure there's not a corresponding unexpected consequence.
The president, Susan, it's Dagan McDowell, the president decided not to have the government directly negotiate drug prices on behalf of Medicare. It was something that he mentioned on the campaign trail, along with his opponent, Hillary Clinton, did that as well. But in his announcement about driving down drug prices, the government's not going to be doing that. And also left off the table would be the importation of drugs from other countries. Is that a disappointment?
You know, at Premier, we think competition is what solves this problem. And if you have governments negotiating prices, they're then determining what drugs are available and which ones at what price. I think what providers and health systems that are a part of Premier, and we have a 76% footprint need, is the ability to get the right clinical products at the lowest cost. So I think inserting more competition, finding new mechanisms for doing the contracting like Premier does really solves the problem. You have to get more manufacturers to the market. You have to get more transparency to the market. You have to get more competition in the market. And that's going to work a lot better, we think, than government, price negotiation.
Susan, this is Joni Courtney. I agree with you. Certainly the competition could really help us with driving down consumer prices, but it also can have the impact on profitability for these companies. And usually when we see that, it can certainly drive down the hiring, and they have less money investing in their companies. How do you think that some of the competition and the forced price reductions that they may have will impact hiring at healthcare companies, because it's been one of the best sectors we've seen for job growth, and what is that going to mean for the pharmaceutical companies?
You know, our sense is whether you're a manufacturer or whether you're a provider, when you move to a value-based care payment system and you're paying for clinical outcomes and you're paying the best and lowest price, companies figure out how to efficiently deliver that. There's a lot of duplication in the system. There's a lot of inefficiency in administrative costs. We think new technologies like blockchain technology and others can help take costs out. So we have a fundamental belief that providers and manufacturers both will figure out how to be more efficient if there is pressure on delivering the value for a reasonable price.
Yeah. Susan, this is a big issue. We'll come back to it. Thanks so much for weighing in this morning.
Yep. Thank you.
Good to see you. Susan DeVore joining us there.